All right, boys and girls, let's go ahead and get started. So right now we're working with a rounding worksheet that is going to go with the video. All you will need is to click on this video and it's going to give you all the directions you need to complete this sheet. So the first thing I need you to do is put your name at the top, just like I have done. Your name goes up at the top. Notice that everything is blank so that you will be following along with me exactly the way I want you to do it and how I want you to do it. So to begin with, notice that it says round. You're going to put this number in there. I want 3,259. All right. And notice we're going to round this number into the tens, the hundreds, and the thousands. So notice we're going to start with the tens. I know that the tens is 110. So you know what? Right here I can see 59. Is 59 closer to 50 or is it closer to 60? Well, I know it's closer to 60. So watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to put 60 at the end. But I am not done because I have to add in the hundreds and the tens. So my 2 goes here, my comma goes here, and my 3 goes right there. So 3,259 rounds to the nearest 10, 3,260. Now we're going to round to the hundreds. So I'm just going to move my hand and I'm going to say 259. Is that closer to 200 or is it closer to 300? Well, I see this 5 right here, which tells me to bump up to 300. So I'm going to place a 300 at the end there, and then I'm going to go back and I'm going to put my comma and I'm going to add my thousands place. So it rounds to 2,300. All right, and the thousands place, I don't need to put my finger up. I just go right here to the hundreds, and the 2 says to stay down. So I am going to have this be 3,000. All right, let's get ready for my next number. My next number is going to be 2,000. And we're going to say 124. 2,124. All right. Let's use the same procedure. I'm going to go to the tens. I'm going to cross this. I'm going to put my finger over this and say 24. Is it closer to 20 or is it closer to 30? Well, the 4 says to stay down, so I'm closest to 20. So I'm going to put that 20 right there. And then I'm going to go back in. I'm going to add my hundreds place and I'm going to add my thousands place. All right. So you can see that my thousands place stayed the same, my hundreds place stayed the same, and the only thing that changed was my tens place. Let's take a look at the hundreds now. I'm going to cover up the thousands, and I see 124. I need to decide, is that closer to 100 or is it closer to 200? Well, I'm checking right in here with my tens. My 10 says that it's a 2, and I know that we stay down if we have a 2. So I am closest to 100. And then I'm going to need my comma and my 2. So I have 2,100. All right, the last one is to the thousands, which means I have a 1 right there, and that says stay down. So I'm closest to 2,000. All right, so we're going to come over here and we're going to fill this in. Notice that I have a big space over here because I'm actually going to use this to be my rounding space is what I'm going to do. All right, so if you'll notice, and actually I shouldn't have put it up top there. I'm going to give you the number 3,836. And this says to estimate and add. So we're going to add 1,453. Okay, can you just ignore this? I didn't mean to put that there. Sorry. All right. So in this case, remember, this is the easy part. We don't have to add all these numbers. What we do is we're estimating, which means round, and we're going to add. So it didn't tell me what to round to, but I know that when I have 4 digits, I come out and I'm rounding to the thousands place. So 3,836. If I want to round this to the closest thousand, my 8 tells me to bump up to 4,000. So I'm going to put my 4,000 here. And then the 4 tells my 1 to stay down. So I'm going to stay down at 1,000. And when I add those, boys and girls, keep your numbers nice and together. I have 0 and 0. All right, and my answer is 5,000. You did not have to figure this out because we were just estimating which rounds and adds. Let's go to your next one. All right, we're going to round 8,027. All right. So let's begin with our tens. I'm noticing right here I have 27. My 7 tells my 2 to bump up to 30. So I'm asking myself, is this closest to 20 or 30? And I find out it's closest to 30. So I'm putting my 30 in there. All right, now my closest 100. Well, goodness gracious. If I'm looking here, my 2 tells me that it should stay down as, guess what? I'm sorry. I forgot to do the rest of this. Pardon me. Whoops. 8,030. I jumped to the hundreds. Now we're ready for the hundred. See, we don't want to do that. We need to have, if we start with 4 numbers, we need to end with 4 numbers. All right, in the hundreds place, I'm going to go right here. And I notice that my tens place is telling my hundreds to stay down. Well, it's a 0. So I'm going to have 3 zeros right there. Okay. And then I need to add my 8 because my thousands place did not change. Okay, now I'm rounding to the thousands and I have a 0 right here. So that's easy because it says just stay where you're at 8,000. So notice this, boys and girls. I ended up having rounded to the hundreds, it was 8,000, and rounded to the thousands, it was 8,000. All right, let's get ready with your next number. I have 1,958. All right, let's start with the tens. So notice 58, I cover everything up but my tens place. 58, is it closer to 50 or is it closer to 60? The 8 tells my 5 to bump up, so it's closest to 60. And then I want to add in the 9 in my hundreds place and the 1 in my thousands place. All right, now I'm rounding to the hundreds, so I cover up my thousands place. My 5 tells my 9 to bump up. Well, if we have 9, the next number that bumps up goes up to 10, right? And 10 takes up 2 spaces. So that means it's going to affect this thousands place here. So instead of 1,000, it's actually going to make it 2,000. All right, so if you think about that for a minute, 1,958 means that I'm about 40 away from being 2,000. So this 900 becomes an extra 1,000. So that's why we have 2,000. And then, of course, my thousands, I'm looking right here at my hundreds place, and my hundreds place is a 9. It says bump up, so it's going to be 2,000. All right, now it's your turn this time to estimate and subtract. So let's get our numbers down. I want you to put down 6,294, and we are going to subtract this time 738. All right, but remember we are estimating and subtracting. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to give myself some lines. There we go. All right. Now, this one right here is in 4 places. So I know I need to round to the thousands. So the 2 right here tells my 6 to stay put, to stay down. So I'm going to put 6,000. All right. Notice that I only have 3 spaces here. That means that I'm going to round to the hundreds. All right. And my 3 tells my 7 to stay down. So I have to be very careful. This means that this is going to be 700 because all of these get crossed off and become zeros, right? Okay. So if I do that, this is the 7 goes here and this goes here, and then we subtract. You've got to keep these lined up because if you put the 7 over here, you're going to say that you're not able to subtract 6,000 from 7. So 0 take away 0 becomes 0. 0 take away 0 becomes 0. 0 take away 7 I cannot do. There's more on the floor. So we have to go next door. This becomes a 5. This becomes a 10. So 10 take away 7 becomes 3. I drop my comma and I have a 5. All right, so when you have a 3-digit and a 4-digit, you have to line those numbers up very, very carefully. All right, let's go to the third row. Right here, I'm going to go ahead and write my rounding number in. I'm going to be rounding 5,555. Let's try that one. Okay? So to round it to tens, I see I have 55. I need to decide if this is closer to 50 or 60. Remember that 5, boys and girls, is the deciding factor. If it's 5 or greater, it bumps it up. So this is going to bump it up to 60. So I'm going to go ahead and put my 60 in, but I'm not done yet. I have to add my 5, comma, 5 because I am putting my thousands place. My hundreds place, they did not change. The only one that changed was this tens place. All right, now I'm going to round to the hundreds. So I'm going to cover up my thousands place. And this 5 tells this 5 to bump it up. So if it bumps it up, it's going to change to 6, right? So I have 600. All right. If I do that, I put my comma and my 5,000 stays the same. Now we're going to do that thousand spot. So guess what? My 5 tells my 5 to bump up. So this time it's going to bump up to 6,000 and everything turns to zeros. So do you notice every time we did this, we turned this to a 0, then we turned this to a 0, and then we turned this to a 0. So all those turn to zeros. Let's try our next one. We have 3,277. All right, let's go ahead and round to the tens. So we have 77. Is this going to be closer to 70 or closer to 80? Well, the 7 here tells the 7 to bump up. So if it bumps up, it's going to bump up to 8, and then this becomes a 0. Okay, then we have to go ahead and add in the hundreds place, and we have to add in the thousands place. Now we're going to round to the hundreds. So I see that I'm moving over, and this is telling what's happening here. The 7 tells the 2 to bump up. If the 2 bumps up, it's going to bump up to 3, and then we're going to replace with 0, 0 over here. So we have 300, and we can't forget about the 3,000. All right, when we round it to the thousands, you have a 2. The 2 says to stay down. So that means that my 3 stays down and everything behind it becomes a 0. All right, now we're going to estimate and add. So let's go ahead and put our numbers in. All right, how about if we put in 3,246, and we're going to add this time. I'm going to give you another 3-digit for you to practice. Okay, we've got 5, 2, and 9. Okay, but remember we are estimating or rounding and adding. I want you to pause the video for a minute. I want you to estimate and add, and then come on back and check it. Okay? All right. Did you notice that this is a 4-digit number? So we have to come right here to the thousands and we say, is this closer to 3,000 or 4,000? The 2 tells us to stay the same. So we're going to stay at 3,000. All right. And then we have a 3-digit number. The 2 tells the 5 to stay the same. So we're going to have 500. And this time we were adding. So did you line your numbers up? We have 0 and 0. And this time, because we're adding, 5 plus 0 is 5. And then we just drop the comma and add our 3. Okay. Now, the bottom numbers you're going to do all by yourself, and then you're going to bring it to your teacher to show you. So I'm going to go ahead and give you the numbers that you're going to need. You can pause the video and write them in, and then when you're all done, turn it into your teacher. Okay? So I want you to do this first one. You're going to round it to 7,309. You're going to round it to the tens, hundreds, and thousands, just like you saw us do. Right here, you're going to round 3,541. You're going to round to the tens, hundreds, thousands. Okay, here you're going to estimate and subtract. So make sure you're subtracting. Let's go ahead and put the numbers in, and you can pause this video and do the work. we're going to put 2,397, and we're going to subtract. I'm going to give you another one of those 3 digits. We're going to do 473. Okay, and then make sure that you are estimating, you're rounding, and then subtracting. So don't forget to subtract. Let's go to the bottom, the next row. Okay, here you're going to round 4,028. The next one you're going to round 1,798. All right, then you're going to estimate and add these two numbers. Let's give you 3,367, and we're going to add 1,462. All right, and remember you are adding, you're estimating and adding, so don't forget to do that. On your last row, you're going to be estimating, or rounding, estimating 1,765. On the next one, you're going to round 4,186. And for your last one, you're going to estimate and subtract. Okay, so we have 8,543, and we're going to subtract 2,971. You're going to estimate and subtract there. So when you're all done with this, please turn it into your teacher.